A new decade has begun, and America finds itself more divided than ever. Politics are often brought up in a negative way through heated debates, and it becomes harder to find that middle ground between Democrats and Republicans. Could there be unity? Let's find out from the minds of a liberal and a conservative. This is the Divided States of America.
I wasn't always a Republican nor a conservative. Growing up, my whole family was Democrat. I grew up in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and everything was Democrat. Once I started working, and then, of course, once I got my own business and I saw how important it is to be fair with the voting, and then I became a conservative. I don't like big government, right? I'm all for a strong country, strong defense, and I'm for lower taxes. The lower our taxes are, the more money we have that we can spend. And I think that's a good way to stimulate the economy.
They follow the Constitution better. I believe in the Constitution of the United States because of the fact that it was a working democracy for years and years to come.
I love controversy on the radio. I love to hear people arguing both sides. I used to be a big Fox News, I listened to it because they were the only ones that seemed to be giving Trump a fair shake. CNN, CNBC, all those, anything that Trump did, they wouldn't give him credit for. CNN, I call that the Clinton News Network. I mean, all the things that Hillary did, and they wouldn't even investigate it. Now I like Newsmax, I like Onan, I listen to the local talk shows. Several of them only deal with Rhode Island. The only one that I seem to get a positive report from was Fox News. And they were biased, I will say, towards Trump, but they also gave the other side of the story too. A lot of people didn't believe it, but when I watch it, I try to analyze it and see what they were doing.
Newsmax and Fox, but certain things on Fox like Hannity, Tucker, Laura Ingrams, but it seems to be more informative. They're not afraid to show you what really is going on.
Well, I like to call myself a capitalist independent who leans strongly left, especially since the 4 years of what we've been going through with the Republicans. I find it from ABC, CBS, NBC, CNBC, because I do a lot of financial stuff, and CNN, of course. I don't care if the message is bad, as long as it's correct. These guys get fired if they don't report correct journalism and they have to apologize for what they've said. They get fired. The other networks, they don't, because they're not actually fact-checking journalism. They try to sell advertising through winding people up with false narratives.
I'm kind of in the middle, maybe independent. I try to look at both sides. Right now, the way the situation is, you can't look at the Republican side because it's a Trump side. It's not a true Republican Party, and that's very sad. I tend lately to be more on the Democratic side. There's many great things they've done and they are going to do. I like Joe Biden. I think that he's going to be good for the country. I read a lot. I watch mostly CNN. I do watch Fox just to get a laugh. And I read the paper. I think they're very honest. I think they're very truthful. I like the way they interpret what's going on in politics. I like those interpretations. I love Don Lemon. He has to be the most sarcastic man I've ever met, and I really enjoy his sense of humor, but kind of sadness.
Democrats and Republicans have struggled in recent years to find that middle ground. Unfortunately, their division has only gotten worse due to the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, which both sides have taken precautions. Take a look at what they have to say about the virus.
Trump, as soon as he heard about it, and it came from China, and I praise him for calling it what it was, the China virus, right? I think he acted fast enough to do it. I don't think anybody realized how bad it was.
Disaster. You couldn't have got someone make the worst decisions, all so he could try to get reelected with using his base and false information, which helped spread it with super spreader events that he did without mask, politicizing the mask, and making people opponents of mask wearing and distancing.
He has I really don't care about that attitude. In the beginning, he was all gung-ho, but in typical Trump fashion, at the end, he could care less. It's never been about COVID. It's never been about the pandemic. It's been about Trump looking good in Trump's own mind. And he did not handle this well. I read his niece's book. I recommend it to everyone. It gives you a real insight into who Donald Trump is. His attitude about it, that, it's just like the flu, it's going to go, was, for the president, was not a good attitude. I think that he should have gone in there and just lifted up the United States, lifted up the doctors. It angered me the way he treated Dr. Birx and the way he treated some of the doctors on the board for the pandemic.
I have no idea where this Dr. Fauci came from. I mean, he's flip-flopped so many times. I don't trust him at all.
During the intense 2020 presidential election, both party nominees fought long and hard to claim the White House. Either way, the results deepened the nation even more. Both sides now take an opinion on the newly elected President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump.
Joe was intimidated by Trump, right after the debates and everything. He realizes that Trump was a little bit a step ahead of him in almost every way. To me, I don't trust the voting. Right, there were shenanigans that were going on. I'm not saying it was rigged, but there was so much information that I can't believe that the Supreme Court wouldn't even, it seems like somebody was finagling things with them, saying, look, let's just get on with it. Swear him in and let's just get going. I still can't believe 80 million people voted for Joe.
I think the Democratic Party is using him. He is not always, I hate to say he's like dementia sort of thing.
He's an embarrassment sometimes when he tries to make a speech. I mean, he's either my age or a little bit older than I am, and I forget things sometimes, but I'm not the president of the United States. I think he is embarrassing us in some ways, tries to run from here to there to show how young he is, and then he falls up the stairs. The executive actions that he took were, for the most part, what I thought, they were just to spite Trump.
He's doing a good job. I've watched Biden for years, and he's always came across as a straight shooter, very honest, extremely compassionate, and he is a religious man, which I'm not religious myself at all. I think it should not be in politics in the first place, but that should appease those crazy right-wing people that want some religion sprinkled in on their politics.
I think that President Biden has an excellent staff. I really do believe that he's encouraging, or at least he encourages me. I think he's honest, pushing politics away. It's a man I would like to meet on the street and have a conversation with. I just think he has such good ideas and good thoughts, and I just think he's very human.
This was a gift from my number one grandson, who happens to be interviewing me right now. My opinion on Trump: I thought he was a great president. He was a little harsh, People criticized him for using Twitter. That was his only way to get his message out. The mass media was completely against him. He would say this, they would say he said that, or they would report half of what he said.
Donald Trump, okay, I know a lot of people didn't like his characteristics as far as how he talked to people and stuff. Myself, that's not a reason not to like him. I feel his policies were going the right way. He actually made you feel like you were proud to be an American again, because Obama had 8 years and I was getting to be feeling like there's something wrong with me because we're not good enough or whatever. He also was responsible for Social Security increases, which Obama didn't do. Also, he lowered taxes, which helped people. He also had gas going down low because we had the pipeline. So, yeah, I think he did a pretty good job.
Hold on. You hear that? Did you hear that?
No.
Exactly. That's why. That's another reason why. It's quiet. We don't need a guy at the top tweeting constantly, hurting any company when he has a vendetta, any country. He could get us in World War III by being such a nutbag.
Yes, where do we begin? He's very sad. I am truly sad for this man. He's just his own worst enemy. And that, I think, sums it up with the Donald Trump.
I don't know what the word rigged means. I don't like the early voting, but I did see enough evidence with some of the reporting on TV of duplicate votes being counted, votes being lost.
It was counted and recounted and counted again. Give me a break. It was not rigged. It was, again, one of Donald's fantasies.
If anything, we should be promoting more voting and get more people involved, because then they know they have a voice, and that's our number one reason that democracy works, is you have a voice.
Elections should be held according to the states, not to what Congress dictates. Mm-hmm. This is a constitutional thing. This was given to us.
Let's make it a national holiday. You don't have to go to work, but you do have to go to vote, okay? You want to mandate vaccines? Let's mandate voting.
One of the more serious and heated topics between Democrats and Republicans to debate on are the Black Lives Matter protest and the U.S. Capitol riot. Take a look at what they have to say.
Black Lives Matter, to me, is a terrorist organization. Don't believe in, they have a right to protest, but they don't have a right to stop my business and blow it up or burn it.
They don't represent justice. Not at all. To me, that wasn't protesting. That was just taking over things. They ruined people's lives. They ruined businesses, small businesses as well. And as far as the Black Lives Matter, they were even destroying black people's businesses. So no, they do not stand up for what we believe in.
They are no different than rioters, right? They call them protests. So the police are supposed to stand by and let them burn down their own town where they live.
Antifa is disrupting the government. That's what they want. They want to take over our way of life.
And especially the Democrats, just coddling them, letting them do whatever they want under the guise of they have a right to protest. Yes, but not to terrorize people.
This is something sad. Bring God back into the picture too, and that may help.
Black Lives Matter, I believe in strongly.
They disguise themselves as Trump supporters, anything they could do to try to give Trump a black eye.
But I do know the right likes to say, blame anything that their side does that's bad, they blame it on Antifa, just to use as an excuse. like the insurrection that happened.
I think the movement is good. I grew up in the 60s and 70s. I know about civil rights. I was there, and they marched, and they got beat for it. Yes, I like the movement. I think we should have a movement. I think black lives do matter, but I also think all lives matter. Again, going back to the civil rights, you know, they did not, there was no violence, but at times there were. And when they were, people, oh, look, they're fighting, they're arguing, they're throwing punches. I don't think this civil rights movement is good for the country. Well, of course it was good for the country. Unfortunately, we haven't come very far, have we, since the 60s? I think the police have a lot of work to do to be true public servants. I watched a little of the Derek Chauvin trial, and the majority of people that went up to testify said he shouldn't have done it, it was wrong. We don't do things like that. I'm a people watcher. Watching him on TV kneeling on that man's neck, watching him, watching his face. He had that, his sunglasses up on his head, hands in his pocket, both pockets, and a smirk on his face. Those are the kind of police we do not need.
We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
It was an insurrection. Because they were fed the information that they were fed, and they actually stupid enough to believe a lot of what that was, I can't blame them for having a rally and protested. I could blame them for an insurrection. I could blame them for how they handled the Capitol Police and how they ripped down fences and went on there. And not only did they go on the Capitol grounds and break in and break windows to get in there and to face the Capitol, which is treason, but they were yelling for Pelosi, for Pence, and so on to do harm to them. Intent is everything, okay? And what they were doing, they were saying what their intentions were. They had a noose hanging outside too. Now that could be just for show, but when you're in rage and you're yelling what you are yelling, there's good cause to prosecute them on treason.
Well, at first when I heard about saw the demonstration, it was fine with me, but the way they broke into it was not fine. But then I questioned as to the whole group. I understood the anger, because if I'll be honest, if I was there, I'd probably be there. Pelosi, I call her Floozy. Sorry. AOC, all of them.
Oh, yeah.
They actually caused these things to happen. I really believe that. They should be watching their mouths. They should not be preaching to protest violently. And that's why when we had that on January 6th, I think so many people got carried away.
What they did, unfortunately, happened to be at Sacred Grounds, our Capitol building. I wouldn't consider it all Trump supporters doing all of this. I believe that Antifa and either Black Lives Matters or other so-called protesters were filtered, in there somehow. I consider that a protest, not a riot, okay? Yeah, and I don't blame Trump for that. I was watching when he gave his speech, and he did not say anything. Let's go down there and break the doors down and let's go in and overthrow. No. Naturally, he was upset about the results of the election. I have nothing against Biden. He's going to serve out, hopefully he'll serve out his 4 years, and then we can have a real election, and hopefully Trump will be back, to the dismay of all of these wonderful liberals.
Unity is important. It is up for Democrats and Republicans to decide how to work together for this nation.
I do believe we should be united, work out our differences. I do believe in my heart and soul that the media has a lot to do with it.
Families have always been divided. Some families divided to where they don't speak. But we both know that that's not the way to go. You have your thoughts, I have mine, so let's just disagree and move on.
Well, I blame the mass media for 90% of it, okay? They report what they want to report. There's no truth in journalism anymore. It's not an honored profession.
Social media to me is, you've given too many people a voice that shouldn't have a voice because they're spreading nonsense. They're heightening racial issues. The amount of disinformation that's on the social media is what is the biggest cancer, if you ask me, what this country has.
First of all, we don't have a Republican Party. We've got to clear that up. We have a Trump Party. And until that changes, we're only going to be a one political party plus a Trump party.
I want Republicans on our side, but the problem is there's certain people that are in power. Not all of them. You got the Mitt Romneys, you got others that aren't, and they're more central, and that's what we need. Like Joe Biden is more central.
The common interest of making America great again, like somebody once said, right? You have to work together.
That's what President Biden wants. That's what he's trying. He's trying to get people to talk. You don't have to agree, but listen to my ideas and let me listen to yours. And maybe two ideas blend together, we can make a plan. I think that the country will always be politically divided because it's always been and it always will be. That's democracy. The whole thing about you have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, let's come together and see if we can bring them together and have one belief.